Ṣẹ̀kẹ̀rẹ̀ lọ bá jó, ṣẹ̀kẹ̀rẹ̀ lọ bá jó, olúwa mi ò dìde ojú
The Ashen Forge. Ashen's the Ashen Forge.
Hello and welcome to the Ashen Forge. I am Phantom X, joined as always by Diggs and the legendary Neurotoxin. How are y'all doing?
I am very tired. I've been dancing all weekend at the LA Bachata Festival. Made sure I left early so I could come do the podcast.
The
Go for
thing
it.
does not want to get the top of my hair. It's like, oh, well, there's the top of your headset, and everything past it is gone. I do need to get a haircut, but not like this. Come on.
I promise I set cams, but oh well, we're good.
No, it's on my side. It's the software trying to put me on the background here, but you know, it doesn't get everything. It kind of gets like there's something behind me here. Oh yeah, that.
It's looking better on stream than it is in Discord.
Wearing the whale shirt today. Not that I intend to be a whale.
We can't be in Ashes of Creation. Well, I guess you can. You just get nothing.
You're
fun
literally a whale. You've got the permanent subscription. You count.
I'm not a whale.
You could pay into PI if you wanted. You could
I
be
will
a
pay
zero
less
whale.
than I will pay less than so many people over the course of like 2-3 years because of that. It's the wrong way to look at it. I am not the whale. Although I guess I did go up a little bit to put Diggs in as an NPC. So
Yeah.
Well, we missed last week, so we kind of have a couple things to catch up on if we have time. I guess we have next week still as well prior to the next stream. So we kind of have caravans to catch up on, and then also commissions is the new stream, which is like wow, not really, but anyways. And then also they have this interesting question on esports. So what?
No. That's what Apocalypse is for. You want to do esports, make a limited environment where people can compete in a specific way. That's esports. Trying to do like battlegrounds in like World of Warcraft or something. These instance, it's the same battlefield every time. The emergent gameplay is how people play it differently and how uneven the teams are stacked. Yeah, well, that's that maybe is kind of along the lines of esports, have a ladder and a ranking system, but mostly if you could just put in the damn time, you would be at the top of the rankings because it wasn't how good you were, it was how much you can grind it. So that's, you can do esports in an MMO, but I think it's better to extract elements of the MMO out to an isolated environment to participate in esports.
You should not have esports in an MMORPG specifically. MMO FPS, sure. But it's antithetical to an RPG. But we had Geo Explorer who used to co-host with us, who is super into esports. And I was even then, no, you don't add esports to a MMORPG specifically. So it kind of concerns me that they even asked that question.
I will say not like combat specific, but other sorts of things. I think about like, if you got the same speed of mount in like WoW or even like Destiny 2 or something like that, you'd have races, and races can be esports, sure. That's great. You can have thousands of people bicycling all the way downhill in France, and just so long as too many pedestrians don't get in the way and knock people over, it's a fair race.
I
But
think that's something, I guess, that the players, maybe the player characters specifically, player characters should be maybe coming up with that stuff. I don't think that should be a mechanical part of an RPG.
yeah, that's why I continue to say isolate the things that you want to gamify into a competitive sports-like environment. You can make it based on the game. You could even interface it through the game's login system, kind of like how Star Citizen has like it's 3 games in one, but none of them are finished. Instead of doing that, maybe finish the game first and then include some more isolated esports modes. It could be that you have to build the thing in game. You've got to build your badass caravan, and then you create a like copy of it that you then bring over, and it's like, this is the best racer I was able to make in game, and now I've taken it out of standard gameplay as a copy that I can now race in the chariot races esport.
For those of you who don't know, Apocalypse, which Nero mentioned earlier, was the Battle Royale separate game that Intrepid had in 2019, 2020, I think. I don't like battle royales because it's a competitive game, but it was for
You play
testing,
the
so
hell out of
It was
happy
it
to,
was
I
a
was happy to test it. Yeah.
battle royale that is non-representative of gameplay. It was all fast flying, fast moving. It felt closer to like a Z Fighter, like a Dragon Ball Z sort of game turned into an online esport sort of environment. And it was all the fun thing about it. It was definitely lore specific. This is people trying to duke it out and be the last one standing, trying to get through the portal to the other side. Why it has to be a brawl for it all, I don't know. That part wasn't actually talked about. All we know is, things are exploding around us, and for some reason, only one person who survives the battle gets to go on to Sanctus. Doesn't sound like a fun process. I would imagine if that's how everyone had to get across,
I
it would have
think
been
it
a
was
very tenuous sort of relationship once they got to the other side.
I think it was everybody left behind, so we were all getting on our griffins and trying to get
Yeah,
to the
that was
portals,
the
and
lore.
then yeah.
So then why were we fighting?
There were
For
only
the
so
for
many
the
spots.
leftover resources, yeah, and the leftover resources and stuff.
We can literally jump and fly through the air. What do we need griffins for? It was just in the weapon. You just grab a weapon that lets you jump and fly through the air, and you just crouching tiger, hidden dragon your way through everything. I don't see why we had to fight. That's still the esport overriding the narrative,
Yeah.
and it makes them both bad in that way.
It was just for testing, so it didn't really matter. You just needed some
Yeah.
lore and some basic gameplay to, uh, you know, to kind of be a foundation for why we're doing that testing. But the fun thing about you mentioning that is that I've been playing a lot of Lego Fortnite, and they just dropped a new mini battle pass season for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And to get some of the stuff on the battle pass, that's all coming. Well, some of the stuff that I want on the Lego side, I have to play the regular Fortnite battle pass in order
Weird.
to get the stuff that'll translate over into Lego. So last weekend I was
It's
playing a
fun.
ton of Fortnite Battle Royale. And the funny thing about it for me is, like you said, I played the hell out of Apocalypse, but the way I played it was I would hide, and most of the people on the Ashes official forums would be like, "Yikes, you don't even do anything. You just hide all the time. You suck. You just hide. You're not even fighting." And it's like, yeah. And then I'm like the third or second person in the game. And so I'm usually in the top 5 left, out of, 50 or 100 or however many people would be getting in there. Um, and I'm playing Fortnite Battle Royale exactly the same way. I'm often in the top 4, But it's mostly because I'm not really doing a lot of I'm actually playing the season pass, so I'm doing all the quests versus doing the combat. Um, and so I'm not really combating anybody until I'm down to the last three people. And I was like, oh, this is consistent with the way I play. I just don't focus on combat. And, occasionally if I have to do a combat quest, then I'll go ahead and get that done so I can get the points I need for that quest. And I might not end up in the top 3 or 4 at that point, but uh, whatever I'm doing, whatever my strategy is, which is to be a rogue and use stealth, whatever stealth is available, I try to use that to my advantage, just to survive, which is how I play RPGs too. I'm usually the rogue using stealth.
I think
I should post some of
It's
those.
just it's such a gameplay modality that like is so not fun to me. It's you and a bunch of people are throwing yourselves in. Either it kind of reminds me of playing Zynga poker back in the day. The first 4 or 5 tables, you just push all in, and then after that, maybe you actually start to play the game. But for the first 5 tables, buy-in was free. Fine, whatever. Just push all in. That's what everyone else is doing. You try to push any more thought into it, everyone's getting mad at you. Why aren't you pushing all in, dude? Come on, don't you know how it's played? And then it finally, it gets to the final tables, and if you get to last that long, great, you'll get a little piece of the action. Maybe you'll get like 100th, 1000th of the way towards like a console of that era or like a phone from that era or something. But actually having physical rewards was kind of a nice incentive for a free game like that. But when it came to actually playing like a battle royale, the one that I played the most was the early H1Z1 when they started with it. And even trying to do the stealth game didn't work very well because I think there were a lot of people using the same cheats they had in PlanetSide 2 on the same engine with the same technology, and that's why I could sit in a bush and I'd still get sniped from across the map. I can be moving absolutely zero amount prone in a bunch of bushes, I'd still get snuck and shot. So that probably also turned me off to it. I get the feeling Fortnite's a little bit less able to be messed with in that way, perhaps. Or I mean, I played it a couple times. I felt like the cover was going to be pretty obvious, or you're just going to be sitting in a building hoping nobody gets there. Eventually, you're going to run out of time because the thing shrinks down or whatever. And in that game, I also didn't like the narrative behind the battle royale, and I preferred the mainline game Save the World that they
Me too.
absolutely obliterated. And like, well,
Mhm.
why do I even want to touch this anymore? So I guess the Lego thing is actually kind of, maybe something that should be of interest to me because it's more of like a sandbox environment. Yeah, I like a good sandbox. I like Legos. I played some of those Lego movie console games. They're fun. They're cute. Legos are fun. They're a good concept. Damned expensive. It's easier to play with them in video games.
They
Fortnite is not a
need more
bad game.
content for they need more content for the Lego side, but they'll get there, I think.
It
Mhm.
is not a
No,
bad game. It is a
Fortnite is a great game for what it does.
Yeah. Esports. I guess this. I did not mean for us to
Come
lead
back.
with this, but yeah.
Well, that sometimes happens.
Yeah. No, I think Ashes though being PvP, as its backbone is just naturally and inherently supportive of esports. Now, maybe not in the actual world that we're in. I would not want to see that necessarily, but I mean, battlegrounds, arenas, guild castle sieges. I mean, those are things that you can turn very easily into an esports type approach. Node sieges, Metropolis is falling, probably not, but
Right. And so that would be my concern because, yeah, if it's a open world MMO PvP game, sure, that's esports. But Ashes is supposed to be an open world MMO RPG. So yeah, that's why I say Ashes is a PvP game. Right. I mean, it's PvP centric, and esports in this game would support my claim. It's a PvP game.
It's
So
not as
yeah,
acute as EVE Online, the risk versus loss, but there is risk and there is loss in Ashes that you don't feel in like other esports game. The only loss is, oh, I didn't win.
I mean, World of Warcraft arenas. I mean, I don't understand. I mean, do you have
Yeah,
a
you can expend some potions and stuff, but it's not like, you're gonna have
well? I mean, just
bigger losses and
no. I
setbacks.
just mean having esports. I mean, in something like World of Warcraft with arenas. I mean
Oh, yeah.
Ashes is going to be set for that.
ga-
So
gamers will try to turn any game they can into esports. That's for sure. There will be gamers who try to do that. But
Not just gamers,
the
it's
devs,
teams and other folks too. Everyone wants another platform to esports.
it's who? It's who?
It's teams and
What
their
kind of teams are those? Those are going to be
like
teams are not gamers.
esports teams and like the
Yeah,
companies that
those are.
represent them.
That's what I call gamers. Yeah, those are gamers. People who want to play a game. I'm not. I don't play RPGs for the game aspects of it. I play RPGs for the story aspects. I'm trying to role play in a story, not play a game.
I mean, if
Um,
I'm just gonna say this one real quick. It was a real like odd sight. It kind of took me aback at TwitchCon like 2018, 2019, seeing this big poster for Bud Light's sponsored esports team, and not one of them looked like they're even old enough to drive a car. So being sponsored by a 21 plus beverage for a bunch, now that's just because they might have looked real young and we're all clean shaven, but golly, like that just seemed odd to me. Is like they can't even drink yet and you're sponsoring them for esports. That's like weird and hilarious in so many like on many levels. And the more I think, the more I had thought about it like over time with that, the more it's just like, what is that allowed? Can you have like Marlboro supporting like youth children's soccer? Is that kosher?
I mean, I typically differentiate between gamers who are trying for the competition and they love the game aspects, versus a player who is really just trying to play, and hopefully in an RPG they're hoping to role play. Um, and the more gamey you get, kind of the less role play there's room for. So
yeah,
Uh,
this kind of fleet. Go ahead.
I was going to say you can RPG guilds and nodes fighting each other though. I mean that I think you could mold into a combination esport role playing. But
But it does kind of segue me into your appearance on Yokai Theater's debate about attackers versus defenders for risk versus reward. Is there enough risk? Is there equal risk? What was the topic? It was like, is there equal risk for defenders and attackers on a caravan? I think
yeah,
that was the
so
topic.
yeah, Yokai Theater, watch them, they're fun. Actually it's a great group of people. We
yeah, it was entertaining to watch for sure.
yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. Actually, a lot of the pre-show, after-show stuff was fun too. Ashes has a great community, and I hope once everything takes off that the small groups that we are sort of stay together. But anyways, yeah. So the thing behind it was, I guess during the stream there was this question of whether, or more of a statement that was made, that defenders seem to assume all the risk of the caravan encounter, and that the attackers assumed little to no risk, which of course then bled into the forums, bled into Discord, a lot of different opinions. Not surprisingly, I think the strong opinions as far as attackers being fine and everything being balanced were some of the leaders of the bigger PvP guilds. Some of the more known PvPers felt everything was fine, and then you had some other folks saying, "Well, show me where their risk is," and it was a lot of back and forth. I think it was actually a very good conversation. very civil and very points on both sides, and it's fun.
One of the things that I thought was funny is it seems like the defenders were a lot more quiet. They were quiet more often than the attackers were. So the attackers definitely had a lot to say about um, why they're happy about how it's set up currently. And the defenders spoke up, but they did a lot of listening.
Well, I had a hard. I was. It was hard because sort of in parallel to this, like my whole thing is if I'm going to choose between the two, I'm going to be an attacker, which is a similar but different sort of discussion. And so I was trying not to, because I was there for a purpose. I was asked to be on the defender side. So I was trying to
Mhm.
not come out just, well, I'm going to be an attacker. That's just what I'm going to do. You know, who wants to defend? But my thing really in all of this was, you know, this was the first stream, and I don't have the quote, I don't think. Yeah, I don't know where it went, but this was the first stream where Steven basically said there is no reward without significant risk.
Is the quote.
Yes, and that was the most direct. This is where I said no reward without risk, rather than, you know, great reward or
Without significant risk.
yes,
Without significant risk.
yes, essentially implying that like you should not be rewarded for anything unless you had risk associated with it. And so that was my thing is, okay, well, where is the attacker's risk? And what everyone tends to fall back to was this idea of basically reputation. That if you attack too much, if you know, if you're a bandit and you do too much caravan raiding, people are going to not like you, and they're going to hunt you down, and they're going to take apart your node. And to which my thing is, well, you know, there are bandits. Like they don't care. Like yes, they
Exactly.
understand. They're a bandit guild. They know that you're going to not like it. That they don't care. Like why would I care? So I don't really buy rep as a thing.
Well, they care if you're willing to pay out of pocket to have them defend you because they keep raiding you otherwise. Then they've won. Then you've legitimized them from their attacking you because now you're paying them to do protection. They've got their little mafioso thing going on just how they want it. They don't want to attack you. That's more effort than being paid whether they win or lose. Just because
Yeah,
they're defending doesn't mean someone else isn't going to attack.
and there's several things there because the attackers were the ones who were mostly talking about this rep. You know, what is the risk? And they were saying, yes, you know, you might be driven off the server if you get a reputation on the server for always attacking.
No, you won't.
But that's what alts are for. So if you really just want to do that and you're concerned about your main having repercussions, then you just do caravans on your you do bandit stuff on your alt. So this also bled into a nice little forum thread that we had where Phantom was in there, and they were basically saying, well, maybe I brought Phantom in because they said something similar about uh, you know, you don't understand how the way these things work. And, you know, if you attack too much, then you'll be without a friend and you'll be without a guild. Your guild will kick you out because the guild will get a bad reputation so you'll be feeling sorry because you won't have anybody to play with in the game. And I remembered Phantom saying on Yokai Theater that he was always planning to attack, you know, if he's out, or not always, but that would be his general thing, is to attack because there's no reason to defend. I mean, and I think that's unless it's your node's caravan and you're going to gain some progression from it. You know, your node might be destroyed if you don't let the caravan come through. Um, and I don't think he was talking about. I don't think when Phantom says he's would attack, that means if he sees a caravan from his node, he's going to attack that caravan. I don't think that was part of that. Um, but I'm like, yeah, I don't think there's anything that Phantom could do that would cause the Theory Forge Guild to not perceive him as a friend. Um, and I mean, if it got to be that close, again, he could always just make an alt and have his alts do bandit stuff. If it was gonna somehow be so negative for our guild, but yeah, that I also did not agree that reputation would be much of a deterrent or feel like a risk, and it definitely for our community, not in any way that we would be ostracizing Phantom the player for something that his characters are doing. Um,
Yeah,
and like, go ahead, Phantom.
no, I was just um yeah, I just reputation makes no sense. Intrepid wants this to happen. Like in many ways, I think attackers have it easier because they need people to attack. This drives the whole PvP back and forth. It's going to drive no growth. Wars between people. So the idea that there's going to be something that shies attackers away. I do wonder about the risk of people just eventually getting comfortable and like, you know, we'll let their caravan go through, and I'll let my caravan go through. But the risk really is, in my mind, is all on defenders. I mean, you are transferring the goods, you are, even the caravan itself, the cost associated with that. If you lose that is something that you're going to have to um, recoup somehow. The time spent gathering, as a guild, as a group, versus attackers, they just need to, and there's the other argument that was, well, how will attackers know where the caravans are? The world is so huge. How are they going to know where a caravan might be? It's like, okay, yes, the world is large, but you're going to know very clearly like where the points are. Like there's only this one big town here. Like I'm going to know this is where caravans are coming to. It's not some hidden knowledge that caravans need to bring their goods to our metropolis. Like it's just, that's not going to be unknown. So I don't buy that either. And then when you add in attackers don't even, I think their death penalty is not as strong as, because
That's right.
it's a structured event.
That's right.
Um, so it's like there really is no risk, and assuming you win, this is where I said I would always be an attacker, is that I know if I win, I get something out of it. I can crack a crate, and I don't have to worry about calling a caravan. I can just, if I'm in the vicinity, I see a caravan, I join in, I get some rubies, and then I go about my way or whatever. Versus a defender, if I'm just out cutting down some trees and I get a pop-up, hey, do you want to defend this caravan? It's like, well, what's in it for me? Like I have no guarantee that the people running the caravan are going to give me anything in return for defending it. And so that's where I say I would, as far as a reward, if I'm completely unrelated to it, I'm just stumbling upon it, it makes far more sense to be an attacker than a defender.
As a defender, if it completes its transit, I believe any caravan you turn in gives some amount of rewards, be it experience money or localize the node only currency. I'm not 100% clear about that. This is where I think the biggest takeaway for me was how much we still don't know about the systems and how much there was a blind spot on every other part of the system. So one of the sort of things is a myth that cargo is relegated to caravans. They've told us there's smaller cargo options. They told us we can use mules. They're going to be slower than your fast riding mount, but you can definitely deploy them, it seems, more rapidly. You're not going to be able to swim out over the water with them the same way, unless maybe they've got an aquatic component to them. Big deal. You're trying to just grab the goods and get back anywhere with it. So if people don't already open all of the crates, which I 100% expect every rando attacker to do every single time, unless they've been paid to do otherwise, and even still might do it because, poop on you. Um, there's that. There's the idea that glint-based purchases are exclusive to caravans. I don't believe they are. I believe you can also transport those with mules. So everything about, you have to use a caravan for this and that, it isn't actually true. It might be easier for a group of 40 people to have 5 or 6 mules and everybody protecting them, have a little bit more mobility, a little bit less of the restrictions on mobility that the caravans have, and be able to stop and start when they want to, rather than having to, oh no, we gotta go over this river. We gotta sit here and build for 3 days, or we're setting up shop. We're gonna start building the caravan here 3 days. What about that even? If I see a spot where they're starting to build a caravan, can we just descend upon that and raid it and get all the crates and just walk them back to town? Yeah, these are ours for sure. What is the
Should be able to.
stipulation behind that? So it's that there's so many other things. Like I've gone down a little bit of the list here. I wrote a lot of notes in the Ashen Forge chat about it. You also don't need to bring every single caravan crammed to the gills. You can bring a few that are empty. So if one of them that's more loaded goes down, you still have the other ones. And oh yeah, all 3 of them are able to group heal everybody that's part of the defending. Asterisk on that, because we don't know about how the tying together, tethering allegiance of multiple wagons and multiple vehicles in a caravan is going to work. Especially, do they even work? Do they bridge across water together? If I've got one on land and one on the water kind of going together, can they still be a part of the same group, or are they 2 separate groups now? There's so much more about it. If it's out in the water, do the crates float, or do they sink? Can you actually recover them, or can you not? Is there more risk in recovering them? Are they more damaged in that way? There's also so much more on the crafting emphasis that isn't talked about. If that caravan or that mule gets killed, it's gone. If I'm not mistaken, they said mules and caravans are the same, like, destructibility. It's dead, it's dead. You ain't getting it back. You can get some mule meat. You can get some, maybe salvage a component or something, maybe not. But by and large, the resource investment that went into these specialized transports is gone the moment they're destroyed. So whether you're muling it or caravanning it, even if you aren't transporting anything whatsoever, you've already put a huge sunk cost into just getting it out there and having it be at risk. So attackers, they don't have to engage in that sort of risk. They can kill the thing, loot the boxes in the field, take their stuff back to the black market if they even care to, take all of the gatherable resources as best as they can, and get out of there. So, yes, sinks are good for the economy, but at the same time, you don't want it to be such a big penalty and there to be so much to overcome that there aren't enough people willing to do caravans to even build them up and ship them, and then the whole game comes grinding to a halt because the sink is too hard. So, or the drain in the sink is, swallowing it all up much faster than you intend the faucet to be putting it out. So that is definitely another, that's a risk reward on the developer side. How much you want people to invest in something that they're able to take a huge hit from if there isn't a huge reward on the other side. How many caravans can I lose and still get rep or resources or whatever before I'm able to build a new caravan from all the ones that were lost? I don't know. How many times can I go and freely attack a caravan if I die? Infinite.
I think that doesn't matter from the developer side because, for one thing, like Phantom said, um, when you're doing caravans, the attackers, death penalties, everybody's death penalties are at least halved, if not reduced even more than half. So it's half the risk, literally at least half the risk or more. So what does risk mean? This is kind of the same thing with what I said about the open seas. It's not more risk. for higher reward. It's more PvP. And so for Ashes, what risk means is PvP. There is no reward without significant PvP. That's really what that statement means. So if you want to move your caravans, you're going to be expecting to do PvP and have significant PvP. And that's true for the defenders. And of course, it's going to be true for the attackers. If you're going to do caravans, expect to have significant PvP. And we know that, caravans are a PvP event, potential PvP event anyway. But really, that's what it boils down to is Steven wants PvP. It's a PvP game. And actually, it was interesting to me too because DA kept saying, if you're playing an open world PvP game, X X X X X. He said that over and over again. One of the things that it reminded me of is I don't want to play on the same servers as PvPers because I don't like the PvP play style. I don't like the PvPer mindset. So one of the things DA said is like, yay, I get money for PvP, which is exactly what I want.
Sure.
There are ways for me to just get paid so I don't have to do any other kind of econ. I can just PvP and focus on that. And there are ways for me to get rewarded with and pay for that and gold for that and all this stuff. So yeah, I can make, and one of the things he's basically saying is if we think of the gatherers as PvE focused people, I can make those my content. I can make other players my content and get paid for that. And PvE folk don't want to be content. Um, uh,
What did
hey,
he?
yeah, we can get
He
them to.
how did he refer to
Hmm.
them? He did call them content, but he used some other word.
Mm,
I'm forgetting what it was. It was actually kind of funny.
yeah, I don't remember. Um, but yeah, when I listen to PvPers talk about how they like to play, I'm like, yeah, I don't want to be on the same server as you. Um, it was actually the more DA and is it Jamie Chaos?
Yeah,
Yeah, the more they talked, the more negative hype
tangents of
that was
creation.
for me. Yeah, the more negative hype that was for me because I just don't like the way PvPers play, and I don't like the way they think of other players because um, I'm not really trying to compete with other players. I want to co-op with other players. And because I think there was one point where DA was saying, yeah, it's fine. You get mad, and the other guild will be mad, and I don't play MMORPGs because I want to be mad. Like I don't want to make other people mad. That's not why I'm playing. I would like to help. So it's actually interesting too because I would most often defend just because I'm playing MMORPGs to be the hero. Um, the type of PvP that I like in World of Warcraft is when I used to play on PvP optional servers for a while until the PvPers were such assholes that I moved to the PvE only servers. But what I like to do on the PvP optional servers is when people have switched to PvP and they're killing NPCs at some village, I like defending and, yeah, I'm the hero defending the village from the attackers. And I do that for 30 minutes or so until I'm done with PvP and then I uh, leave and try and do something else. So I would mostly be defending, and I think it's kind of interesting because I think if Phantom and I were out adventuring together, it would have been interesting to see what happens when we run across a caravan and Phantom's like, I'm attacking, and I'd be like, I'm defending. I guess we'd have to drop out of a party. I don't know. That'd be
Well,
an
yeah.
interesting thing to
Actually, that is
see how that would work.
curious because we could choose different things, and we would join different raids. So I assume it would automatically remove us from our party. Um,
Mhm.
Or your party leader is the one that launches you into it.
Yeah, we might have to leave the party to do that. I don't know.
you're going to be on a server with PvP players whether you want to or not. But
Right, but I won't be engaging in anything except exploring, so it's not going to matter.
one thing that came out of that conversation that I thought was very fun, was very good, was this idea that maybe we shouldn't look at kind of bringing one side down, but how can you make the other side better? Because one of or give the other side more reward. Because one idea that actually came from NK on the forums that I kind of liked initially was this idea of don't let crates be breakable. That you can't crack crates. So therefore, if you do attack and you win, you have to have a caravan of your own to take the goods with you. I don't really. The more I thought about that, if I'm just out in the not a part of a group that's seeking out caravans, joining, that becomes less rewarding to me because I'm probably not going to want to try to caravan it back somewhere. So then the defender, the idea was, or my idea, was why not allow whoever creates the caravan. Now, I would assume for the very big caravans that are carrying a lot of, money's worth of stuff, they're probably going to have pretty well planned out raid teams already, just inherently because of what they're doing. But for those that maybe are smaller guilds, allow the caravan operator to put up some percentage of money or goods from the caravan, a successful one, and say, this is what we will pay people to join us. So you don't only get a raid invite or a choice between attack or defender, but you also get something that pops up and says that, hey, if you're successful here, you'll get, this reward from the caravan. Because otherwise, there is no incentive beyond the skill trees. And there will be people that defend because they'll want to max their skill trees, but eventually you max it. And then what's the point?
I mean, again, people, and it was interesting to me about this debate too, because people spent most of their time talking about the game aspects of it versus the story aspects of it, which is supposed to be that in the story, you need to use these goods to help progress your node. And the reason to defend is because you want your node to progress. So the primary reason to defend is because people in your node need those goods in order for the people, the citizens there uh, to thrive. And the reason to attack is to stop your rival nodes from progressing. That's supposed to be what the bulk of it is, not how much money can I get from this. And that's one of the things that, again, I hate about playing with PvPers is it's all about, economy, player economy. How much money can I make, or how mad can I make the other
No.
players?
As a role player,
And
that's going to be my choice. Even role playing a character, like, all right, you have a caravan, it's getting attacked. What am I going to get out of this? That is me role playing. That is my character.
no, what you get out of it is when you're out, you're defending the
No, my
caravans that
character
are
could
in
give
your
a
area
crap
that
about
express.
that.
I don't think so. How are you gonna? What kind of freehold are you gonna have?
If I'm a bandit, why do I need a freehold?
But
I'm hopping
you
town to
want a
town,
freehold.
node to node.
So, so
Oh,
what
I've given
character are
up a
we
little bit
talking
on
about? That's
freehold
my.
ownership. So
Oh, okay. All right. All
no, I
right.
really
I got
have.
you.
It's
Okay.
from a
Okay.
time
No, I believe
perspective.
you. No, I believe you. But that is a whole different thing. I
Which,
get you.
which,
Okay.
by the way, one of the then more reliable ways to get a freehold, if I'm absent time and to sit in a game forever, is to be a bandit and make money. And so then I
No,
can
you
get some
can't have
money,
it.
and then I can
No,
buy a
because
freehold.
to use the freehold, you will have to somehow be supporting nodes that will allow you to have freeholds. You're gonna have to make sure you're defending that so that they can continue to have freeholds. Your freehold can only be safe if there's successful caravans from somewhere.
But I don't.
But you've
That
given
that
up
you
on
know that was
freehold.
something that was a
Well,
little
no,
odd
because
to
my
me. Is
freeholds
the
can be different.
idea the idea that people would use caravans instead of mules to transport things from town to their freeholds? Why engage in a 3-day building process to build up an exposed caravan if you can sneakily get a few mules from point A to point B with like 40 people defending it so you can keep going if you got to? It makes a lot more sense to me to not use the caravan system for anything freehold related unless it is something so big that it eclipses the entirety of the mule system. Like, I don't know, you've got an entire ancient sealed locked vault or whatever that you defeated the big dragon and you're able to drag to the edge of the dungeon. Now you've got a caravan it the rest of the way, and that's the only way with that thing that you got to put it on your freehold to have access to a certain crafting system that nobody else would have access to. That, short of something like that, I don't know why you would actually need caravans for freehold stuff. Now there is the idea potentially of players and commissions, but that's
But I'm
something I
saying,
want to
but I'm
know a little bit more about, because right now commissions are only node specific. We need this for maintenance, and mayoral. Hey, we're putting this out there. Someone do it.
but that's the thing is that individual gatherers might not be doing caravans, but mayors are going to be doing caravans, so you're going to be wanting to protect those for your nodes. Also, there's castles that are going to be doing weekly caravans. So, as Phantom was saying, will we know where these caravans are? You should pretty much know where your weekly caravan, where your weekly you have those weekly raids for the are they military nodes? The three military nodes associated with each castle. There's
The taxes.
siege. There's a siege. I don't know what they have, but there's a siege. It builds up your defenses each week for the castle. So, you know that there's going to be caravans running for that weekly siege before the fourth one, which is the big siege for the castle. And if you want to help build up defenses, if you like the guild that's running those castles, then or that castle, you're going to want to defend, so you can help support that guild maintaining their control over that castle. So there's plenty of incentive to protect caravans, and then there's plenty of incentive to attack caravans too, because um, you know you're gonna not want your rival nodes or
Mm-hmm.
your rival castles to persevere.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, I don't know that I've ever put this on the forums, but my thought was just that, they don't have to be balanced. I don't think they are, and from a risk reward perspective. It's probably shouldn't be. Again, you want to incentivize. Caravans are supposed to be PvP skirmishes. I mean, they're just supposed to. Not every caravan's supposed to succeed. That is, again, material sink, time sink, also these sparks of conflict, which is exactly what Stephen would like to see in the team of an Intrepid, so that we do get world change. So I think it's currently fine. We have
I
to just
think
see what
it's
it's like.
perfectly balanced. I think it's perfectly balanced because risk is really just PvP, and both sides are going to have PvP, which is what the PvPers want, and the rewards are that you're either you're helping your node or you're helping your castle in either case. If you're attacking, you're helping your own the incentives of your own node and castle, and if you're defending, you're doing that. There's you want to attack the rival nodes and castles, and you want to defend your own node and castle. So I think the PvP versus reward is the same for both.
Well, one thing that I'm very curious about how this all factors in, and I put this as my question for the stream coming up, was the stock market. If you read gosh, I should pull up what I wrote. If you actually read the
Kickstarter.
Kickstarter, yes, the Kickstarter um, language of that, it says specifically that we'll have in-depth economic performance metrics for commodities, but also it says trade routes. So again, if we're not supposed to know where caravans are, like there's going to be trade routes. Like so I asked, like, what are these metrics? Like, are we going to find out, this one has been this trade route has had, 20 skirmishes this week, and the attackers won 18 of them. How in depth are the metrics going to get? Um, Narc hated this question. Yes, I watch Narc. He's actually a lot of fun to watch, and he hated this question. Not so much that I think I asked it, but because his opinion is the stock market is dumb. It just shouldn't exist. It probably is a little bit too much, considering what they need to get out. I imagine it comes later on in the expansion, but
It's a stretch goal. It's a stretch goal.
but I think that also is interesting here because that plays a role that we really don't talk about, especially when you talk about attackers and defenders. You know, if I don't have to be a citizen of a node, but presumably I can own stock in a node or in a guild, and you know, if I am trying to make money in that way, then it might make more sense to be a defender. That you know, I'm not going to get anything immediate out of successful defense, but it's going to make the node stronger. Maybe one of those metrics is, you know, your value of your node increases based off of successful defenses of caravans. And so if I invested at a small sum, you know, yeah, then I'm going to have motive. I'm going to have reason to defend people and caravans from my node, just monetarily from that perspective. Um, the same as if I'm invested in a guild and I see them attacking, you know, someone else. I assume that would actually be we'll have to learn how you can invest in guilds. I don't know if they're going to have to own a castle or, you know, somehow run a node or what. If you can just invest in any guild, I assume there will be some sort of parameters. But it will be interesting to see putting money on a bandit guild. You know, do you actually make money not by PvPing yourself, but by investing in a guild that has a very good track record of successful attacks on caravans? There's a lot of interesting potential there. We just know so little about it. Now, I think Stephen has said that they do have financial people consulting. So it sounds like there's something that has been done. I think he's mentioned that in Discord, but that's another part to this that we just don't know. And honestly, my question, I don't expect him to like answer something in depth, but I asked it just to see if have them say something because they've not said anything about the stock market since Kickstarter, I don't think. But that's a whole nother aspect here that I think plays a role really in
The
all of
last
it.
time it was mentioned on anything the wiki references is 2018, so that one is definitely due for some information at some point.
Equally, you could be nefarious about it. Like if you invested in a node and you've made a lot of money, or you want, you know, you got into a node late, and so you're really not going to make much money off of it. You know, maybe you sabotage the node. You know, you have some, you know, you help another group declare war on it, and then do something to help them succeed. You know, so that stock comes down and you can start over. I don't know. There's a lot of interesting ways to play that game. So
Yeah, and again, you know, sometimes I say things, you know, back in the day, especially about in the real world, you know, people flip out politicians lie, and I'm like, everybody knows politicians lie, but you want them to be doing that against, you know, your rivals, right? We want them to be good at all that stuff. Um, get everything so that it works for us and not for them. We just don't want them to turn it on us. And it's kind of the same way with our nodes. We want to support bandits when they're attacking the rival nodes. Of course, you want to support them. You don't want those same bandits to turn on us, but against them, yeah, you're going to want to have some bandits that you're supporting, and those are going to be the heroes of your node, knowing that um, they're helping your node thrive and remain a metro while perhaps they are preventing other, especially castles. You're probably going to want people prevailing against other castles. So
I don't know. For me, I say the same of politicians as I would say of bandits. Stop screwing around. Do your damn job. Stop with all the blustering and bloviation, making stuff up. Just do the damn job. That's it. That's all we want. Same with people. You know, the heroes blessed with the power of, you know, the phoenix. in Vera. We're the heroes. Do hero stuff. Why are we fighting each other? Fight the corruption. If you don't like the way things are building and you want to, fight your way to political influence, fine. Sure, whatever. I can see where there's some room for conflict, but those are very specific elements of conflict that isn't, just attack every caravan ever from this location, regardless of whether it's a mayoral one or not, because we're taking hits against them while you're taking hits against the entire player population. You might be creating corruption that's going to make things worse down the road, as your node will then have to deal with it. Oh yeah, we're the tier 6 and that corrupted tier 5 down the road is our problem now because they're our vassal and we made the problem worse.
Bloviation.
Bloviation is a great word. I started using it regularly last year, and I'm going to stick with it. It's fantastic. It truly is what politicians do, is bloviate.
That's exactly right.
Well, we're going to be out of time here soon. I wanted to mention one. We can just do commissions next week, which I'm very disappointed in that. But anyways, that's what we can talk about next week. EverQuest 2 writs. Just look it up. Google EQ2 writs. That is exactly what commissions reminds me of. A little bit better. You can level a node with experience, which is different, but everything else, which makes sense because you have SOE daybreak devs. But waterways. So the other thing we learned that I thought was a little disappointing was that you will not be able to take boats on rivers. That the only craft allowed on rivers are going to be the rafts of your caravans. That they will not allow any other boats upstream, which was disappointing. But I have thought about that more. I guess I understand the reason why, being the bridges, I think, is a big part of it. But I assume there's also some other just physics related to the terrain and things that they probably don't want to mess with. But if you're going to add currents, do more than just rafts.
That's what your water pets are for. Water mounts. That's what your water mounts are for.
Yeah. So, well, we have just a few more minutes. Y'all have anything burning questions, discussions?
The thing for me with once again going back to the yokai theater conversation, which by the way, if any of you haven't seen it yet, by all means take the time to watch that one. It was very entertaining. There's just so much with the system that we don't know. And like the more the conversation went on and the more I was starting to take notes of like what are all the things that are not known about yet that we aren't fully aware of, that are the points and fulcrums of the discussion, where if we actually just knew, those questions wouldn't be there and we'd be talking about different subjects and different strengths and weaknesses of the system. So it's a funny thing to me that like it was good for that discussion to occur, and it's good for everybody to get a bit of perspective with it. But on the flip side, it's also something that, if you really pay attention and kind of read between the lines of it, it illuminates how little we still know about all of the systems. Even knowing about commissions still doesn't cover, like for me, my big interest is contracts as a whole. Commissions is basically, here's a need. We need someone to fill this need so we can get something done. That's great, and there's going to be the non-mayoral, just like the node needs this, the node needs that sort of commissions. Okay, that makes sense. Instead of having dailies, you have things that people can come in and make material progress towards certain goals with, based on the parameters that are offered. But what else? Contracts is what I want to know more about. All things that players can set up for other players to engage in. I'll probably save this one for next week, but one of my biggest examples is crafting with a secure trade system. Oh yeah, I can hand you these materials, and there's no guarantee that you're going to actually hand me the completed item. That you're not just going to take my stuff. You might have a great reputation as a crafter, and there's like 4 or 5 people who are like, "Yo, that guy stole my resources. He stole my legendary resources." Everyone's like, "No, we've had great relations with that. He's made a few legendary weapons for me, no problem." And so this person with a great reputation, maybe there's even videos of the person taking the other person's stuff and not giving the item or whatever. And it's like, something came up. It's whatever. You know, everybody else there, though, I've made all of your stuff, so it's no big deal. That is always something that's bothered me. The secure sort of trade system only had limited sort of exchanges, like I put an item in the window, you can apply an enchantment to it, I give you some money, sure. But for something with sort of a dynamic crafting system and dynamic components to it, it's kind of a hard sort of thing to come with a bunch of cool materials that somebody can work with and be able to create the contract to the specifications based on the things they are actually capable of completing on their character sheet. And then they obviously, they've got a parcel now that they have to go execute on to complete this task. Then there's the what if they don't? What if they decide to take the parcel to an open market and bust bust it open for stolen goods? Um, we have none of that. We have none of that. We have none of the what ifs of breach of contract sort of stuff. So that's the sort of stuff I'm a little bit more interested in. Is not just the commissions are great, and I hope there will be a little bit more context to commissions than here's this thing we need, do it. Maybe they'll actually tell you, weather's been a little bit shaky, so be careful for that. And sure enough, along the way, a storm occurs, or there's been a lot of such and such activity out in the wild, and so at some point you're inevitably going to be swarmed by giant spiders that are going to net up your caravan. And you got to kill them all to proceed. And so with the commissions, we don't even know what sort of things we might be getting into, which for some reasons is good because you don't know what the emergent gameplay is going to be. But at the same time, if I know I'm going to be crossing Tumok and a bandit raid when I'm trying to get from point A to point B, and there's also going to be players attacking me, that's definitely going to make things a lot worse for trying to get something from point A to point B. I don't know what sort of narrative things are waiting on the road for me, even if there's no players waiting. So maybe a little bit more than a non-narrative sort of component to it, at least to give some hints or clues or cues for the sort of dangers you might run into along the way, relative to your start point and destination. That makes sense. If it's just a player launching their caravan, they can freely take it wherever. If something happens along the way, hey, that's your own risk. But that's how the game's played. That's how you're gonna find some of the new and emergent content. Oh yeah, and that's another thing, everybody. Don't think you're gonna be able to see everything in the game, every single story, every quest, every piece of content. You might be able to see parts of the formulas of them engaged in different ways over your time playing the game, but you ain't gonna see everything every time. So give yourself more opportunities. Try different things. If you're always an attacker, try being a defender. Maybe you'll find some different story and narrative hooks that you didn't have.
This is one of the things that Jamie Chaos said that, you know, I called BS on and kind of triggered me is, hey, I used to not be a PvPer. If you would just give it a try, you'll find out how fun it is. That's not really the way that works. So it'll work for some people. But in general, that's people who played on PvE only servers play on PvE only servers for a reason, and it's not because they haven't tried PvP. Um, but Nero, what happens if we want to trade with each other, but I don't have bags for some of the stuff that you're hoping to trade with me?
So, if it is in a place where you have some sort of storage capabilities, for example, a town or freehold that you are a resident of, I would hope that I can access directly with your inventory space in that way, that you don't have to have the bag for me to be able to hand it over to you. Now, if it's a sort of thing where I'm handing over, a bag full of stacks of rubies, maybe I can just give you the whole bag with resources in full that you can inspect and see, oh, hey, there's rubies in this full bag that I'm being handed. And then
But
it's
I
on
think
the honor system whether or not you actually give it back to me or not.
so. The real answer is we don't know.
No, we don't. No, we don't. That's another
Even
thing we
something
don't
as
know
simple
about
as
the
trading.
system, even trading.
Hmm.
I can't remember what the trading interface was like in Alpha 1. I feel like it was just a very simple, secure trade.
Hmm. Yeah, I think so.
Even then, I don't remember it. Was it in from the very beginning, or did it come in a little bit later? That doesn't matter. Alpha 1's over. What happened. We learned our lessons from it. They learned something, and now we're waiting for Alpha 2.
It's over quite a while ago. All right. Well, we are about up. I actually started looking. I don't know how this prompted me, but we will be, I think, at 10 years as a group in May. I'm going to have to double check this. I was looking at some old videos, but I do believe our very first, because Nero, you were the first one to host it. We did not have a central channel way back when we started. You all hosted it, you and, gosh, I'm trying to even remember who else. But
I think there was trading. I think they traded off
yeah,
week by week.
I'm pretty sure though. I'll have to look. I think it was in May. So
I
10
feel like
years.
it was sometime after SOE Live 2014, I thought. So that would have been like October of this year.
Yeah, I'll have to double check, but I'm pretty sure it's at least coming up this year for 10 years. So
Mhm.
have to figure out what to do.
I think I'm on the schedule to be with Vertic and Chibi Bree on the Golden Feather Tavern on Tuesday the 20th. So if you guys don't check them out normally and I'm a draw, then come see them. But you should be watching them anyway, because they're a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All
for
right.
sure.
All right. Well, if there's nothing less to say, we are already over. So we will stop here and be back next Sunday. We will get to go over commissions then. Again, Google EQ2 Ritz and hit me up in Discord. It's exactly what these are. And we will talk more about it next week, and also why they didn't pick something else. So y'all have a great week. And yeah, we'll see you back here next Sunday.
Later, everybody.
Oh.
Have a good one.